Hello and welcome to DK School and Library Spring 2023 Preview. I'm Maggie Reagan, Books for Youth Senior Editor at Booklist. Before we begin, I would like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or if you need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Last but not least, Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. We have a wonderful program for you today, and we will be talking with 1,000 Hours Outside author Ginny Yurich a little later in the presentation. But first, we'll hear about DK's fabulous spring titles from Assistant Director of Marketing, Kristen Pizzoli. Take it away, Kristen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Maggie, and thank you, everyone, for joining this Spring 2023 School and Library Preview event. I'm so glad we have this opportunity for you to learn about some exciting upcoming DK titles. And to hear from one of our authors, as Maggie said, Ginny Yurich of 1,000 Hours Outside, out next month. That will come a little later, but in the meantime, you'll be hearing from me about some of our most exciting children's and adult titles coming this spring. First up, we'll highlight our top children's titles with a few biggies first, and then roughly in age order after that. In the wake of all the learning loss, particularly in math and in reading, that children have experienced as a result of the pandemic, our new and improved Leveled Reader series couldn't come at a better time. These are DK Super Readers, an evolution of the ever-popular DK Reader series for kids ages 3 to 11, and now divided into 5 DK levels, from pre-level to level 4, and all aligned to Lexile measures to ensure accuracy of these 5 DK levels. The relaunch of these titles will begin in March and continue throughout the year for a total of 125 DK Super Readers in 2023, 75 refreshed titles that have been our most popular, and 50 brand new ones. All titles coming in 2023 cover science-based topics, from dinosaurs to natural disasters, to submarines and submersibles. DK Super Readers are here to get learners back on track. From the first stages of learning to read to reading confidently, these books encourage nonfiction reading, which has benefits that include becoming more knowledgeable and developing a thirst for learning, as well as improving cognitive knowledge acquisition, concentration, information gathering, critical thinking, and study skills. For a full list of titles to be available in 2023, use the QR code on the slide or visit the listed link. All titles will also be available in ebook, and we're currently building a DK Super Reader site that will be filled with guidance for educators and caregivers, certificates, quizzes, downloadable activities, and more. all great motivators for kids learning to read. As you can see from these spreads, one from each level, fonts, image use, and of course text density all change from level to level. These titles have all been produced in conjunction with experienced educators. Get excited for March 2023. I certainly am. Beginning next year, all our other readers will also be put into the DK Super Reader format, so kids can truly feel like a reading hero as they're learning to read. A level 3 Meet Miss Marvel reader will be available at the very start of the year. A level 3 Ant-Man and the Wasp Save the Day reader in February, and a level 1 Star Wars Grogu's Galaxy in March. By now, I'm sure you're aware of our DK Eyewitness relaunch, a refresh of a classic series for a new generation of kids to help them find their thing, their passion. These are perfect for kids ages 9 to 12. 3 more titles will release in both hardcover and paperback in April 23. Human Body, Planets, and the Civil War. And though this is a spring 2023 preview, this is a reminder that 4 new titles will also be released in December of this year. Fish, The Amazon, The Elements, and Wonders of the World. And these are all those which are already available. And we'll pause for a second here so you can sort of take them all in. Okay, we can move on to the next slide. You can see the changes to the interior look here, updated fonts and images, a more modern look and feel, but there's also a new feature in the relaunched titles. Eyewitness text boxes provide expanded background information on key subjects, and all titles are created alongside expert consultants on the subject area. Kids are sure to find their thing with DK Eyewitness in their backpacks. Now we will switch gears a little bit and talk about a few individual titles that you need to add to your buy list. The Egg Book, out in February and for kids ages 5 to 7, takes young readers on a visual journey through the early life stages of baby animals as they hatch from their eggs. Many animals start life inside eggs, and this book explores these magical capsules in detail, with stunning photographs of the moment the creatures emerge. Featuring more than 20 animals, including a penguin, a tortoise, and even a slug, this book documents the moment of hatching step by step, and kids are sure to be fascinated. It's amazing to me that Pokemon, something that was such a part of my own childhood, is still going strong. Ash's Atlas is a must-have region by region guide to the Pokemon world intended for Pokemon lovers ages 6+. They will travel to the 8 known regions of the Pokemon world like never before, discovering the must-see, checking out reviews and what to pack, and of course, meeting the amazing variety of Pokemon that live there, all with Ash as their guide. This book is available in paperback in March. And these next 2 books I'll cover are perfect for STEM programming and classroom or homework projects. The first, Cardboard Activity Lab, previously published as Out of the Box several years ago, has been updated and refreshed with a new look and includes 25 fun projects and crafts with cardboard. This entertaining, inspiring book is brimming with exciting projects to help young artists, architects, and builders create fantastic games and toys. Using affordable and easy to find household items, kids can construct an entire city complete with skyscrapers and transportation systems, or a sci-fi robot costumes for themselves or their friends, and so much more. Great photography, succinct step-by-step instructions, and a clear how it works explanation for each project will make young creators excited from the get-go. It even classifies each project as easy, medium, or hard. With this book, kids will discover the possibilities of transforming everyday materials into incredible objects. This will be available in hardcover and ebook in February. This next one, in my opinion, a fabulous mashup, is, in my opinion, a fabulous mashup and a necessary addition to any makerspace. It's best of the best project content for kids ages 9 to 12 comes from a variety of our previously published Maker Lab series books, including Maker Lab, STEM Lab, Maker Lab Outdoors, and Math Maker Lab. But now you can get a taste of all these best-selling books in just one, and in a more affordable way than purchasing all 4 titles for your classroom or library. With more than 50 experiments of different lengths and difficulty levels, Great STEM Projects is a one-stop shop packed with exciting STEM activities to inspire every budding home scientist, technology fan, young engineer, and mathematician. Like with Cardboard Activity Lab, all equipment needed can be found in the home or easily sourced, and simple, practical, step-by-step instructions mean that kids can walk through projects in their own time. Beautiful photography and engaging illustrations are accompanied by how it works and real-world explanations to help them understand the principles of STEM behind each and every step of an experiment. This one will be available in paperback and ebook in February. And now we'll highlight just a handful of our top picks for adults this spring, and then we'll get to hear from Ginny. As world travel continues to return to pre-pandemic levels, we want people to be inspired by Run, which celebrates 100 of the world's most amazing races and routes, from must-do marathons to laid-back jogs around the park. Featuring a mix of iconic races and epic ultras, off-the-beaten-path trails, and welcoming park runs, it's the ultimate inspiration for adventuring on 2 feet, whether readers are marathon devotees, hardcore trail runners, or gentle joggers. Awe-inspiring images and compelling descriptions of each route will have readers itching to lace up their sneakers, while handy maps, elevation profiles, and practical information, including things like distance and terrain, will help them plan the nitty-gritty of their trip. We've also included the best places to explore while in the locale, whether epic viewpoints or post-workout lunch spots, making it a unique and inspiring travel guide for those who want to truly see the world on their own 2 feet. Run is available in hardcover and ebook in April, and both Ride and Hike in the same format are available now. Unforgettable Journeys Europe is an inspirational travel book covering Europe's most incredible journeys, including routes on foot and by bike, road, rail, and water that enables travelers to slow down and take the scenic route through this beautiful and diverse continent. It features 150 of the best adventures, from cruising around the western fjords of Norway to hiking the Lycian Way in Turkey. Of course, the big hitters are covered: riding Switzerland's Glacier Express, ferry hopping in Greece, and cycling from Land's End in England to John O'Groats in Scotland. But the book also takes travelers off the beaten path to roam the Albanian Riviera or kayak through the Finnish lakeland. The book is organized by types of transportation, so whether an avid hiker, cyclist, or driver, or a lover of the water or the rails, this book has you covered. It will be available in hardcover and ebook in March, and Unforgettable Journeys, which is a global version of this book, is available now. And now we're going to switch gears. I know there are a lot of Star Wars lovers out there, but these next couple of titles, they're also on our adult list, but because of their pop culture slant, they can really appeal to readers of all ages. An indispensable companion for all Star Wars fans, Star Wars Timelines is a premium quality book that displays visual timelines that chronologically map key events, characters, and developments and mark their significance. Fans can track crucial conflicts across the years that affect the galaxy in profound ways. Follow the Skywalker's lightsaber as it passes through the generations and witness the evolution of the iconic TIE fighter across different eras. Trace the movement of the Death Star plans over the years and uncover multiple branching timelines that break down important battles. See essential events at a glance arranged by era and drill down into details to discover major and minor events, key dates, and fascinating insights. Readers can pore over intricate timelines on nearly every page as they chart the history of Star Wars in this stunning guide, from the time before the High Republic to the First Order. It is written by a group of Star Wars expert authors, from Kristen Baber to Jason Fry, and is available in hardcover in February. This next title is a great supplement to Dungeons & Dragons library programming or after-school clubs. Dungeons & Dragons: The Legend of Drizzt Visual Dictionary. This book showcases Drizzt and his travels through the Forgotten Realms in never-before-seen detail, with the glamorous artwork produced by Wizards of the Coast put center stage. From the glaciers of Icewind Dale to the teeming cities of the Sword Coast and the sinister shadows of the Underdark, to the chambers of Mithril Hall, fans can explore the realms through Drizzt's eyes as never before with this immersive, extraordinary guide to their favorite fantasy setting. This visual dictionary is written by New York Times bestselling author Michael Whitmore, who is known for his other D&D titles, and has a foreword by R.A. Salvatore, who is a writer best known for his The Legend of the Drizzt fantasy series. This is available in hardcover and ebook in March. And now, just a couple of influencer-led cookbooks before we hear from Ginny. We are so excited for Guga, a bold new cookbook from YouTuber Gustavo Tosta, aka Guga himself. There are lots of barbecue gurus out there, but Guga does it just a bit differently and a bit more boldly. Through his popular Guga Foods YouTube channel, Guga teaches his more than 6 million fans how to make out-of-this-world barbecue, as well as the incredible sides, sandwiches, tacos, sauces, and more. In Guga, Breaking the Barbecue Rules, Guga shows readers how to make traditional barbecue recipes like smoked brisket, Texas-style ribs, and steak, but he also adds his larger-than-life flair to recipes like Korean-style chicken wings and sweet and spicy pork belly. In addition to barbecue recipes, this beautiful cookbook contains recipes for sides like smoked mac and cheese, Japanese potato salad, fried bacon, bread knots, and even Brazilian deep-fried bananas. Guga will teach even the most seasoned barbecue connoisseurs some new tricks, and beginner enthusiasts will learn how to take barbecue to an entirely different level. Look out for the actual cover, which will be revealed soon. This one is available in hardcover and ebook in April. Meals She Eats offers everything women who have been diagnosed with PCOS or polycystic ovary syndrome, an estimated 10% in the US, need to regulate their cycle and manage their symptoms naturally. For each of the 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, learn what's going on in the body and why. Feel empowered with very specific diet and lifestyle interventions. Support health and metabolism with research-proven supplements. And enjoy recipes loaded with seasonal, healing foods the body craves. All guided by Rachel and Tom Sullivan, the inspirational couple who has taken control of Rachel's PCOS diagnosis to help her thrive. After being diagnosed, Rachel Sullivan's husband, Tom Sullivan, started an Instagram account where he would track the recipes he'd been cooking for her over the previous year to help regulate her hormones. Tom's page went viral, and now both Tom and Rachel are behind the popular social media accounts, which have more than 2.4 million followers and counting, for whom they deliver hormone-happy, taste bud-friendly foods. This is available in hardcover in March. Okay, now the moment you've all been waiting for, I'm sure. Learning more about Ginny Yurich's upcoming book, 1,000 Hours Outside, and hearing from the author herself. Join the global movement and add this book to your collection to help challenge families match screen time with outdoor time, with hundreds of fun, fresh air ideas. Did you know that the average American child spends 1,200 hours a year in front of a screen, and that outside play can boost children in every area of development? This book has everything you need to reset the balance and swap screen time for outdoor fun. Its vast collection of games, crafts, and activities are all organized by season to help families and educators find something to do with kids outside every day of the year. Play leaf pile games, take a hot chocolate hike, make corn husk dolls, go on an animal home hunt, and so much more, with hundreds of ideas for all ages, abilities, and family types. No matter how busy a family might be, this book provides all the ideas, photos, activity instructions, and inspiration needed to get outdoors all year round. Author Ginny Yurich, founder of the 1,000 Hours Outside movement, who has more than 750,000 followers on social media, is a Michigan-based homeschooling mama of 5 kids, and now an author too. Ginny is a thought leader in the world of nature-based play and its benefits. She has a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a master's degree in education from the University of Michigan. You can find her online at 1000hoursoutside.com and join the movement by following her on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I am so excited to welcome her onto the virtual stage for her In Conversation with Booklist Senior Editor, Books for Youth, Maggie Reagan. I'll let them take it from here.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And Ginny, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Well, Kristen gave us a great summary of your book, but in your own words, do you want to kick us off by just telling us a little bit about what the book's about and what prompted you to write it?
Yes. So we are huge advocates for getting kids outdoors, both for the benefit of themselves, but also the benefit of the adult, whether that's a teacher or a grandparent or a parent or a caregiver. When we step outside, even just that exposure to natural light does so much for our mind, for our mood, and the benefits just continue to grow that I keep learning about for getting our kids outside. But sometimes we get stuck. We don't know what to do. They seem a little restless. And so this is a book that's filled with so many hands-on, simple, accessible activities that kids and adults can join in on. And it just sort of gets you started. I always say, I like to be outside, but I don't necessarily like to go outside. It's a lot of work, and the kids sometimes are resistant. But once you're out there, a lot of times it's hard to even bring them back in. So this is sort of the impetus. This is going to spur you on. Oh, I want to go do that. I want to make that. I want to build that. I want to try that activity. And then once you're out there, you're gleaning all of those benefits that nature provides.
So as Kristen mentioned, the book is split into 4 seasons, and it's just kind of overflowing with outdoor activities for each season. So let's just kind of break it down. If you had to pick just one go-to activity for each season from the book, what would you pick, or what would you recommend to people?
All right, well, I'm going to start with the winter because we are heading into that. We live in Michigan, and so the weather will be turning for us soon. And I love anything with ice because in the winter, the thing that I struggle with most, beyond the cold, beyond the dark, is really the lack of color. And it's just everything is white. That's why it's really neat to see a cardinal or a blue jay in the middle of the winter. But there's so much white where we live. And by freezing things, so we make ice ornaments and we make colored ice blocks and we put old petals into these ice ornaments or different natural materials that we find, red berries, and then you hang them up and it catches the sunlight. And so it adds all this color and shine. And the ice activities are great too because no matter where you live, you can do that. So if you live in a place that's further south, let's say, or in a different area of the world, you can use your freezer and you can still make these things. And sometimes if you put a little bit of bird seed in there or some orange rinds or something like that, well, they're going to fall and then they're just going to be food for your local animals. So those are my favorites, the anything with ice because they shimmer and shine. And then in the fall, which is the season that we're in now, I love the pumpkin neighborhood because I always grew up carving pumpkins and making a face, a jack-o'-lantern, and I know things have gotten a lot more elaborate these days, but you can make them into little homes and houses and windows and doors and add you could take a glue gun and add little steps or all of these different things and then it's this whole playscape for kids to take pine cones. It could be all pretend or you could add little plastic figurines and you've got this whole village set up of different size pumpkins and different colors. So and then light it up at night. I think that's so fun. That's one of my favorites there. My spring one is flower farming because I think that even a couple flowers brings joy and activity options for all of the seasons to come. Really, you know, you have the summer, you've got all your petals, they're still blooming usually in the fall, this vibrant set of colors. And then if you press some of them, then you'll have them for all sorts of crafts during the winter as well. So that's a top one on my list. I love zinnias. That's my favorite, where they just bloom for months and months and they're beautiful and you cut one and you get another one. You can take them to friends and family. And then I have for the summer, I have the vine basket because it's a little bit different and it's fun to go out and try and find grapevines and then learn how to weave them together to make baskets that you can use for all sorts of different things.
Awesome. I want to actually go back for a second to winter because I initially was thinking that winter might be the toughest sell for outdoor adventures. While I was going through this and I loved the beeswax luminaries, and just how simple and nice the inventing a constellation activity was. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you approach this section in particular, especially knowing that winter looks different in different places, like you started
hmm
to mention.
There are only a few things in there that location would be prohibitive for. So that would be any of the snow activities. But everything else would be something that someone could do by, like I said, using a freezer or something like that. So most of the activities would be something that someone could do no matter where they live, no matter what their winter looks like. But then I also kind of like this thought of enticing. You know, we live in Michigan and I've always lived here. And for a majority of my life, I resented winter. I would I couldn't wait till it was over. It's so cold. It's so dark. It's so white. It's so drab. And then I read a book by Linda McGurk called There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather. And she talks about how in other areas of the world, like the Nordic countries, they don't view it as good and bad. They just go out and each season offers its own special thing. And so I started to look at winter that way. What does winter have to offer that these other seasons don't? And so then I've been posting our sledding and our snow paintings. And every once in a while, Maggie, I'll get people, they'll send a message and they'll say, "Oh, I wish I lived there," which is just opposite. I used to think, "Oh, I wish I could move. This winter is so long." But then I'm starting to get these messages of, "Oh, we want to bring our kids up to the snow." So I kind of like that little bit of enticing of piquing someone's interest if they don't have that where they live, that maybe they would travel one day and take their kids on a vacation that included some snowmen or snowflakes or something like that. And even just for the kids to open their eyes to see these different types of weather and different types of environments. So most of the activities anyone could do, the only ones would be a couple snow activities, but maybe they pique the interest for those who aren't living in an area that has snow.
Yeah, I love that. So take us through the process of how you created a book like this. How did you decide what activities were going to make it into the book, and have you attempted all of them yourself?
Yeah, most of them. But this is actually an interesting question, Maggie. So I'm a novice, like at all things. I really like photography, but I'm not very good at it, even though I've taken a bunch of courses. And I just, I'm limited in my abilities. And so when we were talking about creating this book and it has hundreds of activities in it, I said, well, it's not possible for me to supply all of those photos. I'm not even going to go through the whole gamut of seasons in order to get all of the different activities. I had some, but not all of them. And so our idea was to put out an ask to the 1,000 Hours Outside global community for people to submit photos. Said, send in some photos of your kids doing different activities outside. And Maggie, I was nervous. I thought, what if no one sends in any photos at all? Kind of like when you're a kid and you invite people to your birthday party. Like, what if no one shows up? But we ended up getting over 16,000 photo submissions from all over the world. They are just beautiful and heartwarming photos of kids playing and doing things that are simple but still are so meaningful. And so it was a mix of activities that I had already done and a mix of activities that I'd already done but didn't have photos of. And then a couple new ones that people sent in that were really special and unique. And those are in there too.
So how about the ones that got away? Were there like projects that you had to cut from the final book that you wish you had been able to include?
There's only one. There's only one because the book has got a lot in there. So we were able to stuff a whole lot of activities in there, even with the just make this adjustment, try it this way. There's a lot in there. There was one activity though that we still have not gotten to work, which is a moth sheet. You're supposed to be able to like put up a sheet, spray it with like a fruit spray, put a light on it at night, and it's supposed to attract all these different kind of moths, but we must have just done it at the wrong time of year because I think I had read that it could be any time of year, but we were sitting out in the dark. It was like night after night, like the flashlight and the sheet, and no moths are coming, so that one got scrapped. But we were able to cram in a whole lot to this book.
Awesome. So you mentioned that, I mean, this is essentially like a global community of parents and caretakers and educators, and that the project being on its blog. So what challenges did you face when you were transitioning the content from that digital platform to this print one?
Well, there's deadlines.
Sure.
So that's a difference. When you have a blog and you have a movement, you're kind of moving at your own pace. So this was a different, fun, new, exciting project to work with a team, to work with a designer, to work with just some lovely people at DK. It was such a fantastic experience, but definitely different because it's no longer just myself making the decisions. It's a team and moving forward and trying to make sure that we hit certain time frames and things like that. So it was great.
Do you feel like you're still able to like communicate with your audience in the same way?
I think so. Yeah, it's just grown over the years and I've grown over the years, truthfully. So I started 1,000 Hours Outside in 2013. spurred on from some years where I really struggled as a mom with young kids and found an answer that really worked for all of us. And so our kids are 10 years older now. They were 3, 2, and a baby when we first started to really extend our outside time. And now they're 13, 12, and they're 14. It's been over 10 years, I guess. They're 14, 13, and 11. And now we have younger ones too. We have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. So it's been a neat journey to see that nature meets us where we're at, no matter what stage our family is in, no matter how old our kids are, there's always something. And I think a lot of times we look at these activities and think, oh, maybe that's really for young kids. But older kids really like them too. And they really get engaged with making baskets and making jewelry and making wands and all of these different things, freezing things, breaking things. There's so much still there for kids of all ages. And so it's a book that works well for families, for cousins, for get-togethers and nature groups. So there's a wide age range that nature what's the whole age range, I think, like newborns all the way to grandparents, nature engages.
How much do you think your experience as a parent like comes through in the book or influences what you chose to highlight?
I think a lot, which is just this trust that we can gain more and do a little bit less, that we don't have to be quite so harried. We don't have to be quite so rushed. We don't have to fill things in quite so much. And no, I think through the photography and through the imagery, you see that childhood can be filled with joy and kids can be learning along the way and having all of these hands-on real life experiences. So I think it permeates from front cover to back cover. I mean, even, if you look at this, it's like, oh, child could look like this and be, all of these different activities, even on the spine. Isn't that neat how they did that? That childhood could be filled with these joyous moments that still prepare them for adulthood.
Definitely. So there's actually a big focus on safety in the book. I noticed that many of the activities have box safety tips, and then the endnotes contain more thorough safety information. So is this a focus that developed as the book did, or did you go into the creation with that safety angle in mind?
I think a lot of parents are timid, nervous sometimes about getting their kids outside, anxious. And so when we get our kids outside, we're all growing. They're learning how to assess risk. We're learning how to assess risk. We're learning to let them assess their own risk, basically. So it's this gradual growth for everyone, for teachers, for everyone involved. And so sometimes I think the safety tips, they help to calm fears so that we can step into an activity and then learn while we're there. Then we can take more steps down the road. But I think it helps to calm those fears and calm those anxieties that some families or some teachers may have or daycare providers. And then as you grow together, you learn more about what works and what doesn't work and what kids are capable of and maybe the things that they're not as capable of yet but might be down the road.
Have you received any early responses yet from readers or educators about how they're going to respond to and use the book?
No.
Are we the first?
Well, okay. So I'm the only one that has it. I think I have one copy. I guard it with my life because I only have this one so far. However, people are very excited. Well, first of all, to know if they're in the book or not. That's a really cool piece because the original plan, I think, was to let people know, yes, your photo made it. No, it didn't. But when over 16,000 photos came in,
Yeah.
it became a little bit of an IT nightmare to try and figure out even how to access all of them. So it was a cool experience, but no one knows if they're in it or not. And so I think that's probably one of the things that people are really intrigued about
Yeah.
is are they in there or is someone that they know, a family or a friend in the book? And I think everyone's excited to see that.
Yeah, well, and it's exciting way to watch the like blog readership develop into a new
Hmm.
place. Well, I hesitate to do this because now that I hesitate to divvy them up into favorites after you've spoke so beautifully about how they all have value. But did you have a favorite season or section to work on while you were putting the book together?
Well, yeah, I did. My favorite is autumn because we're heading into this period of where everything kind of dies and dies back and it's a little bit quieter of a season in the winter. And I think right before that happens, there's sort of like this explosion of color and vibrancy and textures. It's like this crossover. It's like the end of the harvest season. So maybe you have a whole bunch of pumpkins, but maybe you also still have a whole bunch of flowers, and also the leaves are turning depending on where you live. And so it is sort of this beautiful transition, and it provides a lot of opportunity for craft and for immersion. So, for example, we like to take acorn tops or parts of black walnuts, and you can turn them into a little floating candle with a little wick. That's one of the activities in there. And so we'll go on a picnic in the fall. It's not quite so cold, but man, we'll put a little bowl out and we'll have our floating candles. And it's just real magical. It's something that's easy to bring along with a little lighter, but it adds so much to the ambiance. And so I would say autumn is probably one of my favorites in the book.
Mhm. Were there did anything about the other sections surprise you, or did you get like more into them while you were researching them?
I would say no. Like I said, I think had I written this book 6 years ago, I would have begrudgingly done winter. But now I really do truthfully enjoy it and am able to see it for what it is, that it offers opportunities. And really each season, and I think this is a cool thing about libraries and classrooms. I see a lot of libraries that are doing these book walks and incorporating different outside portions to their summer reading programs and things like that. And it's like each season offers developmental opportunities for children. So, for example, heavy work. When you're holding heavy things and it's that push and pull on your joints that helps kids with a sense of proprioception. Even that's a good reason to hold an actual book, to have that in your hands and the weight of it. And so every season offers that, whether you're pushing a snowman ball, a huge one, and stacking another one on top, you have that heavy work, or you're pulling a wagon that's filled with pumpkins, or you're raking leaves. All of these different things, all of the different seasons, when you're planting in a garden and you're using that dexterity and your joints feel all of that dirt that you're picking up, each of these seasons offer so much for children and so much for families and for classrooms. And so I like that. I like that the seasons can be highlighted in this way. I think it's a really neat way to lay out a book, a reminder that there's always something, nature is always providing.
How do you see this project and this initiative expanding in the future?
Well, the movement continues to grow. I have a podcast, the 1000 Hours Outside podcast, and we have an app, a mobile app that people use. We really actually do keep track of the amount of time that we spend outside. But this is a neat thing to come on and to talk to librarians. There's a local library near where we're at in Michigan, and they've done a 1000 Hours Outside class once a month throughout the school year where people are coming in and they have different activities and crafts and seasonal things for people to do that sort of incorporate the reading and incorporate um, the nature and the hands-on things. And so it's really a neat thing to sort of take steps and to watch things grow and to see what's coming in next. But we've talked about some other book ideas, like the outdoor baby was one that got tossed around, which would maybe focus on like ages 3 and under. Because a lot of times parents or teachers will send a message and say, well, what do I do with my 1-year-old? What do I do with my 2-year-old? Or what do I do with a baby? And so just with some different ideas for that. So there's some other ideas in the pipeline, but for now, just continuing to spread the message that nature play matters, and that's actually a good thing because it really does help all of us.
We had a question in the Q&A that I just wanted to raise here too, in case anyone else was wondering the same thing. This is primarily a resource for adults and caretakers, not a book for children themselves to
And
read.
can I step in? Because this is an interesting thing. I
Oh
actually
yeah,
was
no,
just
yeah, please
talking.
take it away.
Well, I
Yes.
was just talking to someone about this today. Her name's Katie Bowman, and she's all about movement, reinserting movement into culture and into family life and all of these different things. And she has a book that has a lot of pictures of kids. And the thought would be that that this is a book that a caretaker would use in order to guide their kids. But what Katie and I talked about was how we're in this culture that people are not moving much. They're not getting outside much. We talked about that at the very beginning. The average child is outside for 4 to 7 minutes a day in free play, but on screens for hours. So there's this imbalance there. And so we've lost a little bit of the modeling. What does it even look like to be outside? What are the things that I could do? And so what Katie and I talked about was that books like this, you have it in your home, you have it in your library, you have it in your classroom. What it does is it entices children and it reminds them of all of these different things that they can do, and a lot of them that they could do on their own, depending on their age, depending on the materials that you have. But you could see how a child, if you're at a place and there's a bunch of different rocks, let's say, that they would be inspired to say, oh, I could make some art with this. And these are the types of things that maybe we're not seeing very often just because people are indoors so much, but this gives them ideas and I think inspires them to say, oh, we could go outside. We can go splash in the water. We could go get a little muddy, all of those different things. So it ends up being sort of like a full family book, even though I think it's geared for adults, right? Because they're the ones who are facilitating the activities, but it gives a lot of benefits to the kids as well.
Awesome. Well, and then I guess this is slightly a pivot, but I know like during the pandemic, a lot of people ended up spending more time inside at home in front of a laptop. So I'm wondering how you personally find ways to recharge or reset when you're doing a lot of work that demands screen time, and if you have any advice for adults who are looking for smaller ways to reconnect with the outdoors and maybe to model that behavior.
hmm I mean, just like right now, right? Like we're
Yeah.
sitting in front of a screen. Although
Right.
I recorded a podcast just this past week where the other person, she was in Australia and she was outside and there was the sound of birds and different things. I thought, well, hey, maybe that's what we should be doing. But I think that the little things add up. And I think we can easily forget that. And it takes a little bit more effort. Cal Newport has a book called Digital Minimalism where he talks about high quality leisure versus low quality leisure. And I think because we're overwhelmed and overworked and our habits have changed that sometimes we forget that if we put in just a little bit more effort, then we can have a high quality leisure experience as opposed to a low quality one. And so it takes a little bit more effort to get out the door, but I think you have to schedule it in. I think you have to be intentional because it's really easy for our attention um, and for screens in general to sort of hit dopamine those dopamine releases, and we forget that nature is out there and waiting for us. So there's a lot of different ideas. A morning walk, however short it might be, would completely change your day because it resets your entire body system by having that natural light hit your brain. I think there's over 100 body systems that are dependent on the day and night cycle. Is grabbing a simple activity from here get you out the door? And I think sometimes that's all we need is to get out, and then we realize that there's so much that can be done out there. But I've heard of people that are taking their office meetings and taking them outside, taking them on a walk. You have to catch up with someone. Why not do it at a path? And it's a little less in your face. I think sometimes people get along better when you're sort of walking side by side. And so there's a lot of simple ideas. I feel like I'm sitting in the sun here with the way that it's going by our windows. But just even that, your eyes, I think this is an important thing for librarians, is that your eyes while you sleep are tensed up, and your eyes when you're inside are tensed up. It's like the ciliary ring, it's called. And the only time that our eyes relax is when we're able to look long distances. So looking out of a window or going outside. And so that type of thing. So that's something that we can remind our kids to look up from their books here and there to help with their vision. A lot of kids are struggling with myopia, with nearsightedness, and some of that comes from not ever really being able to relax the eye because we're always in these sort of close-up environments.
I did not know that, but I'm like trying to find a long distance to look at now so I can, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fascinating. But that makes perfect sense. Ginny, thank you so much for speaking with us today about your book and for this book. I wish you so much luck, and I'm really looking forward
Aw,
to seeing
thanks,
this on
Maggie.
shelves.
Thank you. I loved being here. I love librarians and I love teachers. I used to be one. And so just absolutely thrilled. I have great memories of the library growing up. Ours had a big fireplace in it and you could go sit near it in a cozy chair. So love to read and love what everyone's doing. Thanks so much for having me. And I've loved working with DK. They've got the coolest books. We have a bunch of them on our shelves already and just so honored to be a part of their team.
Amazing. Well, on that note, we're actually going to hand things back over to Kristen to close things out.
Thanks so much, Ginny. That was wonderful. Just before we wrap up, here's a quick reminder that you can follow DK on social media in order to have all the latest DK news and offers at your fingertips. And for any teachers tuning in today, make sure you check out our new education-focused website, DK Learning, which is packed with curated free content for teachers, all browsable by grade level, subject, and topic. And be sure to follow us on our education-focused social accounts as well. You can find us at DK Learning on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us today and for all that you do for your students, patrons, and communities. We appreciate you, but before we sign off, I'm going to pass things over to Maggie to wrap things up. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kristen and Ginny, for such a wonderful program. It was wonderful speaking with you. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit www.booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Have you heard? Booklist Reader, our new magazine that offers reading recommendations to patrons of all ages, is coming to print this January. Go to www.bit.ly/booklistreaderinprint to find out how you can order print copies in bulk for your library. If you already have a Booklist subscription, you can share the latest issue now. Go to our website for more details. If you or your staff need to learn collection development from the ground up, or you just want to refresh your skills, check out the upcoming collection development crash course hosted by our ALA colleagues at eLearning. You can find more information at elearning.ala.org. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to Kristen and Ginny and to our sponsor, DK. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.